Parkersburg, West Virginia, a close-knit community nestled along the Ohio River where the safety of its residents is expected and neighbors look out for one another. But in December of 2022, the quiet security of this small city was shattered. 27-year-old Gretchen Fleming was known for her vibrant sense of style, her independent spirit, and her fierce devotion to her family. But in the dead of winter of this small town, Gretchen vanished. While many missing person investigations are plagued by delays and police failures, the search for Gretchen would prove different. Driven by a relentless law enforcement effort and a deeply devoted family, a community united to uncover the truth. But as the days turned into weeks, and then into months and years, a haunting question remained. What happened to Gretchen Fleming? Gretchen Fleming was born on Christmas Eve, 1994. Raised entirely in Parkersburg by her single father, David, alongside her younger sister, Emma, her early life was anchored by family. Following her parents' divorce, David stepped up to provide a stable, safe environment, raising his daughters in a town where community ties ran deep. Memories of her childhood are deeply intertwined with the landscape of the area. Simple moments, like riding a bicycle through the neighborhood, with Gretchen leading from the front. But when Gretchen was 14, the family dynamic evolved. David introduced the girls to Jennifer, the woman who would become their stepmother. Though transitions in blended families can be complex, a seamless bond eventually formed. The addition of 3 new siblings solidified a close, protective family unit, including an incredibly close bond with her stepmother. As Gretchen grew into adulthood, she developed a distinct sense of self, expressed most vividly through her passion for fashion. She possessed a unique talent for curated thrift shopping, meticulously piecing together outfits that allowed her to express her individuality outwardly. Almost always, those outfits were anchored by her signature look, a pair of classic Doc Martens. Gretchen was a young woman who knew exactly who she was. Beyond her distinctive style, she was also defined by her quiet creativity. Gretchen was an avid reader, always with a book in hand, and had a passion for makeup, perfecting a signature red lip that became a staple of her daily look. Those who knew her best describe her as entirely free-spirited. She was someone who lived in the present, choosing to take life one day at a time, rather than binding herself to a rigid, grand plan for the future. Yet, under that relaxed demeanor was a quiet confidence. Gretchen possessed the resolve to accomplish anything she truly set her mind to. Her philosophy on life was straightforward. She didn't live to work, she worked to live. While she wasn't intensely career-driven, she was fiercely independent, always maintaining employment and ensuring she could fully take care of herself. But Gretchen did have significant aspirations, chief among them a desire to experience life beyond her hometown. She wanted the energy and opportunity of a larger city, a dream she would soon make a reality. Following her graduation from Parkersburg High School in 2013, Gretchen packed her belongings and moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. Her early 20s represented a chapter of exploration and independence, the precise lifestyle she had envisioned for herself. She built a new routine, formed close friendships, found employment, and eventually entered into a serious relationship. In time, the couple decided to relocate together to South Carolina. For roughly a year, the transition appeared seamless. According to family members, Gretchen seemed genuinely happy, and conversations between the couple had even turned toward the prospect of marriage. Then, the trajectory shifted. For reasons that remain private, the relationship came to an end, and the couple parted ways. Experiencing the breakdown of a long-term relationship is inherently difficult, but for Gretchen, the emotional strain was amplified by an impending, sudden tragedy. Though she had long been estranged from her biological mother, Gretchen was unexpectedly contacted with devastating news. Her mother had been placed on life support following a critical medical crisis. Because of her legal standing as next of kin, the gravity of the situation fell squarely on Gretchen's shoulders. At a remarkably young age, she was forced to navigate the profound emotional and psychological weight of a monumental decision, ultimately authorizing the removal of her mother from life support. It was a shattering experience, one that would deeply test her resilience and leave a mark on her life, just as she attempted to navigate a crossroads of her own. The profound weight of these back-to-back hardships took an undeniable toll on Gretchen's well-being. Recognizing that she needed a stable environment to heal, she made the decision to return to her roots. And in May of 2022, Gretchen moved back to the Parkersburg area. Rather than moving into her father and stepmother's bustling home, which was filled with the energy of younger siblings, Gretchen opted for a quieter alternative. She moved into the home of her grandmother, Louise, in the neighboring city of Vienna, West Virginia, only about a 10-minute drive away. It was a choice born out of a desire for peace and a dedicated space to rebuild her life. During this period of transition, Gretchen began formulating a tentative plan for her future. Once she felt she was in a better position mentally and emotionally, she hoped to pursue a career as a flight attendant. By the late summer and autumn of 2022, the stability of her new routine was yielding positive results. Gretchen secured a position in retail, reconnected with close friends from high school, and appeared to be successfully getting back on her feet. But to understand the events that would soon follow, several critical elements of Gretchen's lifestyle and living arrangements must be established. First, Gretchen did not hold a driver's license. At 27 years old, she had simply never felt the necessity to drive, relying instead on public transit, ride shares, or lifts from friends and family to navigate the area. Second, her living arrangement at her grandmother's house came with a strict condition. Louise maintained a firm 10 p.m. curfew. If Gretchen was not home by that time, the doors were locked for the night. While an early curfew might be seen as unusual for a 27-year-old, Gretchen respected her grandmother's need for security and a quiet household. She adapted by keeping a network of friends whose couches or spare beds she utilized if an evening ran late. And because of Gretchen's independent, free-spirited nature, it was not uncommon for her to be away from home for days at a time. It was an established pattern for her to stay over with friends for a few days before returning to her grandmother's residence, a detail that would later complicate the initial timeline of her disappearance. While Gretchen consistently kept her cell phone with her, daily check-ins with her family were not standard practice. At 27, she maintained an expected level of independence. Her father notes that while they shared an open, healthy line of communication, they did not text or speak on the phone consistently. If a message or call went unanswered, Gretchen would typically respond the following day or whenever her schedule allowed. For roughly 6 months, from May through the beginning of December, this arrangement worked seamlessly. Gretchen was working, rebuilding her social circle, and quietly focusing on her emotional healing. But this normalcy shifted forever on December 3rd, 2022, when Gretchen left her grandmother's house and never returned. On December 11th, a little more than a week after Gretchen was last seen, David and Jennifer received an unexpected knock at their front door. Standing outside was David's mother, Louise. The visit was driven by an escalating anxiety. Louise had come to report that Gretchen had never returned home after being dropped off for her shift on December 3rd. Initially, there was no immediate cause for panic. Gretchen had explicitly informed her grandmother that she did not plan on returning to the house that evening. Given her pattern of staying with friends, Louise's concern only crystallized when the days stretched into a full week without a single word from her granddaughter. The gravity of the situation deepened immediately. Neither David nor Jennifer had heard from Gretchen in days. Repeated phone calls and text messages from the family went entirely unanswered, with every call routing directly to voicemail. an indication that her phone was either turned off or dead. Driven by an immediate, overwhelming instinct that something was terribly wrong, David and Jennifer quickly began canvassing downtown Parkersburg. Knowing the establishments Gretchen frequently visited, the couple focused their search on a handful of downtown venues, including one of Gretchen's favorite local establishments, the Front Row Bar and Grill. There, the timeline began to fracture. When David presented a photograph of his daughter to the bartender, the response was immediate. The bartender confirmed that Gretchen had been there during the prior weekend, but it was the detail that followed that turned their anxiety into terror. The bartender revealed that on the morning following Gretchen's visit, an unidentified man had walked into the bar and dropped off her purse. For a young woman defined by her independence and meticulous sense of style, leaving her most essential personal belongings behind was a chilling anomaly, one that suggested her disappearance was anything but voluntary. The dread deepening within David and Jennifer was confirmed when they opened Gretchen's purse. Inside lay the foundational elements of her daily life: her cell phone, her wallet, and her identification. Everything had been left behind. The bartender provided a critical, troubling piece of the puzzle. The man who had returned the purse the morning after Gretchen was last seen was the exact same individual she had departed with the previous night. For her parents, this discovery solidified their worst fears. The purse had remained at the venue for an entire week. If Gretchen had been capable of retrieving her belongings, she would have done so. While they refused to give up hope, this was no longer a matter of a free-spirited young woman taking time away. It was a crisis. Continuing their urgent search through downtown Parkersburg, David and Jennifer eventually crossed paths with a group of Gretchen's friends. While none had heard from her recently, they provided a vital lead regarding the night of December 3rd. They recalled seeing Gretchen leave the Front Row Bar and Grill in the company of the unidentified man, who was reportedly driving them to another local venue, the My Way Lounge. David and Jennifer immediately redirected their efforts to the My Way Lounge, a popular local spot known for hosting karaoke events. December 3rd had been one of those nights, and the timing proved fortunate. When they questioned staff, the karaoke DJ vividly remembered seeing Gretchen on the night in question. Crucially, the DJ was also able to provide a name for the man accompanying her: John. The name provided no immediate answers. Neither David nor Jennifer recognized anyone named John in Gretchen's social circle. Recognizing they needed more data to track this individual, the pair returned home with her recovered cell phone. Because the device was not passcode protected, they were able to gain immediate access to her logs, searching for clues or messages from the night their daughter vanished. However, this offered no resolution. The data merely verified the physical timeline. December 3rd marked the final instance of outgoing activity or contact. After that night, her digital footprint went completely dark. Faced with absolute silence and an unaccounted-for companion, David and Jennifer went directly to the police station early the following morning to officially report Gretchen Fleming missing. The official investigation was about to begin. When David and Jennifer filed the missing person report with the Parkersburg Police Department on December 12th, the response was immediate. In a world where adult disappearances are sometimes met with initial hesitation from police and investigators, this department recognized the troubling inconsistencies in Gretchen's case. The chief of police ordered an all-hands-on-deck response, acknowledging a crucial reality. An independent young woman does not willingly walk away from her life without her phone, her money, or her identification. The immediate presence of these personal effects pointed directly toward the possibility of foul play. Detective James Zimmerman was assigned to lead the case, instantly launching a sweep of local hospitals and regional jails to rule out sudden medical or legal emergencies. When those inquiries yielded no results, investigators turned directly to the public. A missing person bulletin featuring Gretchen's photograph was posted to social media. Within 24 hours, the post was shared over 1,000 times. The rapid, widespread amplification reflected a community instantly unified by a shared sense of urgency, determined to assist a family in crisis. The digital bulletin quickly reached the one individual who held some of the answers to Gretchen's final known movements, John. Recognizing his own connection to the timeline, John reached out to the Parkersburg Police Department immediately, offering what investigators described as complete transparency. He confirmed that he had spent the evening of December 3rd with Gretchen, starting at the Front Row Bar and Grill before transitioning to the My Way Lounge for karaoke. According to John, Gretchen had left her purse and cell phone inside his vehicle when they arrived at the second venue. Once inside the My Way Lounge, their paths diverged. John interacted with another group while Gretchen sat at a different section of the bar. And when the evening drew to a close, John began searching the establishment for Gretchen, intending to fulfill his promise of a ride home. But unable to locate her inside the building, John stated that he drove around the immediate downtown grid, searching the dark streets of Parkersburg. When that search proved unsuccessful, John doubled back to the My Way Lounge under the assumption that she might have returned to look for him. When Gretchen failed to appear, John concluded that she had likely secured an alternative ride home with another acquaintance. Not thinking much of the situation, John returned to his residence for the night. However, a critical piece of Gretchen remained sitting in his passenger seat. John still possessed both her purse and her phone. The following morning, operating on the belief that she would return to her frequent hangouts, he brought the items back to the Front Row Bar and Grill, leaving them with staff. With John's detailed account verified by his immediate cooperation, detectives had a concrete anchor for their timeline. But his statement also forced a stark conclusion. John was not the last person to see Gretchen Fleming. The trail did not end with him. It simply shifted deeper into the early morning hours of December 4th. John's decision to leave Gretchen's purse at a local bar rather than delivering it directly to her residence raised questions for investigators. However, the explanation became immediately clear. John did not know where Gretchen lived. Furthermore, the address listed on her identification had not been updated since her recent return to West Virginia. Leaving the items at an establishment she was known to frequent appeared to be his most logical option for ensuring their safe return. Crucially, Gretchen's family has remained highly vocal in their belief that John had no involvement in her disappearance. Her father, David, later noted that John appeared just as shaken and fearful as the family themselves, deeply regretful that they had separated at the lounge and that he had been unable to locate her at the end of the night. On December 13th, the timeline received its first major piece of objective verification. Management from the My Way Lounge contacted David through social media, revealing they had reviewed their interior security cameras from the night of December 3rd and invited the family to view the footage. By lunchtime that day, David and Jennifer were at the establishment analyzing the video, and the recordings fully corroborated John's account. Gretchen and John were captured arriving together before transitioning to opposite sides of the bar to socialize independently. But as the tape continued to roll, a new, critical detail emerged. When Gretchen finally departed the My Way Lounge, she did so without John, but she was far from alone. The surveillance footage captured Gretchen sitting at the bar when an unidentified male approached her. Staff noted the man appeared to have emerged from the venue's dedicated gambling room. The two engaged in conversation, with the man eventually buying Gretchen a drink. Shortly thereafter, the camera captured the pair walking together into the privacy of the gambling room. According to David's analysis of the timestamps, his daughter and the unidentified man remained inside that room, out of the camera's view, for approximately 30 to 45 minutes. When the pair finally re-emerged into the main area of the lounge, they made a direct exit. The footage shows the man walking out of the establishment first, with Gretchen following immediately behind him into the dark December night. With John officially cleared by objective evidence, the focus of the Parkersburg Police Department shifted instantly. The man from the gambling room was now the absolute last person known to have been with Gretchen Fleming. While the security footage remains part of an active investigation and has not been released to the public, both law enforcement and the Fleming family have confirmed its contents. The video also revealed a case of devastating timing. At the exact moment Gretchen and the unidentified man exited the lounge, John had stepped into the restroom. This brief window explains why John missed her departure, leading to his subsequent confusion, his frantic search of the downtown grid, and his ultimate belief that she had simply found an alternative ride home. With the footage delivered to detectives on December 13th, the focus shifted entirely to identifying this new individual. But the answer came quickly. A bartender at the My Way Lounge recognized the man, identifying him to police as Preston Pierce. The name meant nothing to the Flemings, nor did it resonate with any of Gretchen's close friends. He was a complete stranger, but detectives acted with extreme urgency, locating and interviewing Preston on December 13th, just 24 hours after the official missing person report was filed. During questioning, Preston's account immediately raised red flags for investigators. He admitted to meeting Gretchen at the bar and confirmed they left the establishment together. However, he claimed that his involvement ended shortly after. According to his statement, he drove her to downtown Parkersburg, dropped her off, and went on his way. Investigators immediately prioritized verifying this timeline. They canvassed the area, pulling every available piece of residential and commercial security footage along the suspected route. By December 14th, detectives believed they had collected enough data to reconstruct Preston Pierce's movements. But the findings directly contradicted his story. None of the recovered footage captured Preston dropping Gretchen off anywhere in Parkersburg. Instead, the digital trail showed his vehicle leaving the My Way Lounge and traveling directly to his residence. While authorities concede that gaps in camera coverage leave a faint margin of error, the evidence strongly suggested a direct journey home. As the name Preston Pierce began circulating, David and Jennifer immediately attempted to research the man who had last been seen with their daughter. What they uncovered was deeply alarming. Public records and community accounts painted a troubling picture of a man with a history of predatory behavior, stalking, and harassment directed at local women. But the most striking revelation came when investigators dug into his official documentation. The man known to the patrons of the My Way Lounge as Preston Pierce did not exist. It was a fabrication. His true name was Darrell Lott. The exact timeline for when Darrell Lott chose to adopt the alias Preston Pierce remains unclear. However, investigators uncovered a stark reason for the reinvention. The name change followed a firing from multiple law enforcement agencies, driven by a pattern of highly inappropriate behavior directed at women. What became clear was truly chilling. The last person known to be with Gretchen Fleming was a former police officer. While the specific records from his time in uniform remained sealed, a disturbing pattern would continue to follow him into his life as a civilian. In the years that followed his dismissal from law enforcement, numerous local women came forward to report predatory encounters with Pierce. After losing his career in law enforcement, Pierce secured employment as a food delivery driver in the Parkersburg area. According to local accounts and subsequent police reports, he actively weaponized this position to target women. The logistics of a delivery job granted him direct access to private information, including personal phone numbers and residential addresses. Upon dropping off an order, Pierce would frequently initiate unsolicited contact, sending intrusive, persistent text messages to customers. What began as delivery drop-offs quickly escalated into calculated stalking and harassment. For the women who crossed his path, his presence was an ongoing threat. And for detectives investigating the disappearance of Gretchen Fleming, this history shifted Preston Pierce from a person of interest to a deeply dangerous focus of the investigation. The accounts from local women paint a deeply chilling picture of Pierce's behavior prior to Gretchen's disappearance. One first-hand account from a local bartender details an encounter from 2020. Pierce, acting as a DoorDash driver, delivered food to the establishment where she worked. Hours later, he returned to the venue, sat at her bar, and made inappropriate comments about her appearance. The encounter left the woman so deeply uncomfortable that she contacted her supervisor to sit with her until closing time. That same evening, he located her private social media profile and began sending continuous messages. His behavior soon escalated to physical surveillance. Pierce would park his vehicle outside the establishment, waiting in the lot until her shift concluded. The stalking became so persistent that her supervisor was forced to escort her to her car every single night for an entire week to ensure the woman's safety. A second woman came forward with an even more alarming experience. She recounted meeting Pierce at a local venue, only to wake up the following morning inside his residence with absolutely no memory of how the evening had concluded or how she had ended up in his bed. As David and Jennifer uncovered these escalating personal stories, their conviction solidified. The testimonies outlined a dangerous psychological profile. A man who reacted aggressively to boundaries, refused to accept rejection, and operated under the belief that he was entirely above the law. For the Parkersburg Police Department, these behavioral patterns, combined with the fractured timeline of his alibi, provided immediate probable cause. On December 15th, just 3 days after Gretchen was officially reported missing, detectives successfully secured 3 comprehensive search warrants. The targets of the sweep were highly specific, aiming to recover physical or digital evidence belonging to either Pierce or Gretchen. Teams simultaneously moved to secure and search his primary residence, his vehicle, and a local storage unit he rented. While the Parkersburg Police Department has withheld the official itemized list of what was seized during these raids to preserve the integrity of the active case, the execution of 3 simultaneous warrants signaled a massive turning point. Investigators were no longer just searching for a missing person. They were actively building a forensic profile around Preston Pierce. While the itemized checklist of seized property remains protected under investigative privilege, law enforcement confirmed that physical evidence recovered during the raids was submitted to the State Forensic Laboratory for advanced testing. The specific results of those forensic tests have not been made public. In an effort to protect the integrity of the active case, investigators have kept a vast majority of their operational findings behind closed doors. Notably, Preston Pierce's identity was never officially broadcast by the Parkersburg Police Department during the initial phase of the sweeps. His involvement only became public knowledge after his name was leaked in a local media report following the execution of the search warrants. Despite the lack of public updates, the Fleming family has consistently maintained their solidarity with law enforcement, openly supporting the department's methodical approach and their decision to withhold critical details from the public sphere.
Good evening. I'm Louise Fleming, one of Gretchen's grandmothers. I want to thank all of you for coming out today, and I want to thank you for all the prayers, all the thoughts, everything you've done to try to make this easier on us. I also want to say at this time that we could not be prouder than we are of the Parkersburg Police Department. Our chief and Detective Zimmerman couldn't do any more than they're doing. And I know some people get flustered, they get on Facebook, and they start this, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? You've only got 24 hours in a day, and they're working around the clock, believe me. So please, if you can't do anything else for us, please keep your negative thoughts about our police department and what the family's doing to try to find Gretchen to yourself. Everyone's invited, entitled to their opinion, but there's some circumstances that you should not be blasting people. And you have no clue what these places are going through and what they're doing. So please, if you do nothing else, do this for us.
But as the investigation pushed into the new year, the behind-the-scenes pressure began to break into the open. By January of 2023, the Parkersburg Police Department made an official public appeal, announcing a targeted search for a specific person of interest vehicle, a black Nissan Rogue, subsequently identified as belonging to Preston Pierce. Simultaneously, authorities disclosed a significant shift in the dynamic of the investigation. The individual in question had officially terminated all communication with law enforcement. And as the pressure mounted, the family was tragically forced to endure a profound psychological blow. On January 6, 2023, a local media outlet published a breaking report claiming that a body had been recovered from the Ohio River and that the remains potentially belonged to Gretchen Fleming. The report was broadcast without official confirmation or verification from the medical examiner's office. The immediate impact on the family was devastating. Gretchen's younger sister, Emma, was the first to encounter the news broadcast online. She alerted her father and stepmother, plunging the household into immediate panic, grief, and confusion. David immediately contacted Detective Zimmerman, who was equally blindsided by the report. Despite working daily alongside regional agencies, no such discovery had been reported to his unit. But the broadcast was quickly exposed as entirely false. The recovered remains did not belong to Gretchen Fleming. Though shaken by the emotional volatility of the false alarm, the family refused to allow the distraction to derail their focus, re-anchoring themselves in the ongoing effort to uncover the truth. By February of 2023, the scale of the operation expanded significantly as community volunteers joined forces with law enforcement. A massive, coordinated search was launched at Mountwood Park, drawing a crowd of more than 500 individuals.
More than 500 people searched for Gretchen Fleming, a Parkersburg woman missing since December. Eyewitness News reporter Shayla Klein walks through the woods to bring us this story.
Watch out for everybody out there today. Let us find this girl, find some closure for this family.
Community members praying for answers today. Hundreds driving to Mountwood Park, about 30 minutes east of Parkersburg, to participate in the search party.
We were hoping for 100 people, and I have 3 sisters and a good friend came to my house yesterday, and we made 200 sandwiches, made bags for them with cookies and sandwiches, thinking 200 would be enough, and it's not going to touch her. Me once they're found, but then I think, what will I do if she is found? You know, it's just, you want her found, but not in this way.
The search party methodically covered a vast amount of challenging terrain, though the extensive effort ultimately yielded no clues or physical evidence connected to Gretchen's disappearance. Shortly thereafter, a highly specific tactical operation materialized in the Ravenswood area, acting on a localized tip suggesting that Gretchen's remains may have been concealed inside an abandoned well. Detective Zimmerman's team deployed specialized equipment to snake a camera down into the shaft. When visual obstructions blocked the lens, external resources were brought in to completely drain the well. But despite an intensive, week-long effort, the search was concluded without any findings. Subsequent sweeps of additional dense wooded areas and regional riverbanks along the Ohio River similarly proved unsuccessful. Notably, local community groups deliberately chose to withhold organizing independent, unsanctioned search efforts. They operated under the collective concern that amateur searches could inadvertently compromise or tamper with critical forensic evidence. But throughout the agonizing months of uncertainty, the overwhelming wave of public support served as a vital cornerstone for the Fleming family. The collective community response was relentless, with lifelong loved ones and total strangers alike physically showing up to offer assistance, driven by a determination to keep her story in the public eye. The grassroots advocacy continued to evolve into the spring. Gretchen's former high school principal approached the family with a fundraising initiative. He suggested that Gretchen's sister design a custom memorial t-shirt featuring imagery reflecting Gretchen's personality and style, with all proceeds directly funding the reward for Gretchen's return. On May 25th, a formal press conference was convened. The event served a dual purpose, providing a transparent public platform for law enforcement to reassure the community of their ongoing investigative efforts and officially unveiling the memorial t-shirt design to keep the search for Gretchen Fleming fully alive. The custom t-shirt designed by Emma was infused with personal significance, meticulously incorporating elements that celebrated Gretchen's identity. The graphic layout prominently featured classic Doc Martens to honor her signature sense of style, books to represent her deep love of reading, flowers to symbolize her appreciation for nature and beauty, and musical notes as a nod to her passion for music. While Emma was emotionally unable to attend the formal press conference, her presence was felt through their grandmother, Louise, who stood before the cameras to read a letter Emma had composed.
Our granddaughter, Emma, is in upstate New York for the summer. We weren't so thrilled with her gone, but she needed to get away from some of this, and it's good for her. And so we like to try to do what's best for the kids and not just what's best for us. She called me last night. She said, Nana, she said, I need to say something about the shirt that I made. I need to let the people know why I designed it the way I designed it. That's a great idea. And she sent it to me, and I couldn't believe it. And so today about 7:30, I had a call from Metro News. Hoppy wanted to interview me on his live show at 11:30 this morning. And I knew immediately that I wanted to share what she had put down about the shirt. And I didn't know if I could, so I had to read it at least 5 times. And I think now that I can read it to you and share with you without breaking down. I'll try my best. So here it is. About 2 weeks ago, Kenny DeMoss, our principal at PHS, approached me with a wonderful idea to design a t-shirt that represented Gretchen to help bring Gretchen home. The idea behind the shirt was to capture Gretchen as she truly is to those of us who know her so well. So my sister, Gretchen E. Fleming, has a fabulous voice. And you can see a microphone and little pieces of music because she wrote songs and she sang songs and she loved to sing. My sister wants to see the world and all its wonders. If you ever saw my sister around, you would always see her with a book in hand, and she would be, without a doubt, wearing her Doc Martens. The only thing I failed to capture within this shirt was a cup of coffee. So my idea was to take these things and put them all together. Books with Doc Martens standing on top with a representation of life coming out of them, which are the flowers in the top. Because that's what Gretchen brought when she entered a room. She brought life. She brought passion. She brought joy. And she always knew how to make you smile. Too many right now, Gretchen is just a face or a picture that you see on the internet or on a poster. But to many others, she's a friend, she's a daughter, she's a granddaughter, she's a niece, she's a cousin. To me, she's my sister, my best friend, my inspiration. So when you think about Gretchen, I ask that you think about her in this way, as a real human with friends and family and unfinished goals and aspirations. She is so many things that cannot be captured in a simple t-shirt design. But if you feel so inclined, I ask that you purchase this shirt to show your support. And I beg, if you know something that could be the least bit helpful, even the smallest thing, please, please call Detective Zimmerman at 304-424-1072. Thank you, Emma Fleming.
Gretchen's father took the podium next and delivered his own heartbreaking statement.
Well, I guess it's my turn, and I do not public speak very well. I do not know how to write a speech, so this is what I came up with. Hello, my name is David Fleming. Gretchen is my daughter. As many as you know, Gretchen has been missing for 6 months now, and we will not stop looking and searching for her until she isn't found. And a lot of you are helping with that, and I appreciate that. I'd like to thank Mr. DeMoss for arranging this platform for keeping her name out there. She was a graduate of PHS. She's a gentle, kind soul, and who would never hurt anyone. I really want to thank the community for coming together for our family. The passion, donations, just being there for us. Thank you. This community has been amazing. I really want to thank Parkersburg Police Department, Chief Board, Detective Zimmerman, who all have been working around the clock with this investigation. This is an active investigation, and they won't quit until the answers are found to what happened to Gretchen. Emma, I'm glad you're able to see this.
We have them on FaceTime.
Emma is in FaceTime. In conclusion, I'd like to announce, due to the overwhelming kindness of local business owners here in this community, they would like to donate another $35,000 towards the reward. That's going to be raising the award to $100,000 for anybody that has any information, knows something, a snippet, heard something. Please come forward. We want answers. We will never stop. Gretchen, I love you. We will find you, I promise. We will seek justice against anybody involved in her disappearance to the fullest extent of the law. I really want to thank everyone in this community for the love, support, prayers, and just thank you.
In the long months that followed the briefing, the Fleming family remained unwavering in their public solidarity with the Parkersburg Police Department. Law enforcement leadership countered this support with an absolute promise: they would not rest until they secured definitive answers for the family. On the one-year anniversary of her disappearance, Police Chief Matt Board shared a poignant detail regarding the daily operation of his headquarters. He keeps a physical candle from Gretchen's original community vigil burning inside his office, a tangible reminder that the active case file is not anywhere close to turning cold. Command staff reiterated that not a single day passed where Gretchen and her family were not at the forefront of the department's focus. Detective Zimmerman maintained the case as his absolute highest priority, arriving at headquarters each morning to review the timeline, while multiple regional and state agencies continued to process forensic evidence. And in November of 2024, tactical units from the FBI and the Parkersburg Police Department executed a coordinated search at a residential property in the 1300 block of Division Street Extension in Parkersburg.
The Parkersburg Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation served and conducted a search warrant in regard to the Gretchen Fleming missing persons case. Our Haley Lanham joins us live in the studio to tell us more about today's update.
Thank you, Phyllis. The Parkersburg Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation served and conducted a search warrant at the 1300 block of Division Street Extension earlier today. The search started at approximately 7:30 a.m. this morning, and I had the chance to speak with the Parkersburg Police Chief, Matthew Board, and this is what he had to say. The Parkersburg Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation have been working closely on the Gretchen Fleming missing persons case since the beginning. On November 20th, a search warrant was served and conducted to search a residence on the 1300 block of Division Street Extension.
The Parkersburg Police Department is working in collaboration with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the execution of a search warrant, the 1300 block of Division Street Extension. The search warrant is in regard to the ongoing investigation into the missing person case of Gretchen Fleming.
No new information has sparked this search warrant. This is only part of the investigation process. There have been a lot of speculation on social media, and to throw a blanket on that, this is just protocol.
Gretchen's father, David, had openly described the ongoing reality as an inescapable, living nightmare. Forced to navigate an unimaginable void, the family tried to focus on taking life one day at a time, fiercely protecting whatever hope remained to find Gretchen. The winter holidays bear the heaviest psychological toll. Gretchen's birthday falls exactly on Christmas Eve. It remained the profound hope of an entire community that her family would not have to endure another holiday season waiting in the dark for answers. However, the march toward justice is often a race against time, and for the Fleming family, the timeline of the investigation outlasted two of its most dedicated anchors. In June of 2024, her grandmother Louise tragically passed away. And sadly, less than a year later, in March of 2025, the tragedy deepened when Gretchen's father, David, also passed. David had spent years fiercely defending his daughter's memory and fighting for answers. Her stepmother, Jennifer, later noted that the relentless, agonizing stress of Gretchen's disappearance had taken an incredible toll on her husband, ultimately wearing him down. She expressed a quiet hope that wherever David is now, he is finally at peace, and that he finally knows the truth of what happened to his daughter. Sadly, it would be only a matter of months after David's passing that the investigation reached its most critical turning points. Because in September of 2025, human remains were recovered in the Palestine area of Wirt County, West Virginia. Following months of extensive forensic testing, the medical examiner officially confirmed the identity of the remains on May 15, 2026. Gretchen Fleming had finally been found. That very same day, a grand jury issued a sweeping indictment against the central person of interest from the inception of the case, 58-year-old Preston D. Pierce. The charges were severe: first-degree murder, felony murder, concealment of a dead body, and kidnapping.
Investigators say they connected Pierce to the remains found in Wirt County in 2025. They were later identified as Fleming's.
They were able to extract DNA from these remains, and from the extraction of that DNA, compare it against the known DNA sample that we had developed from family members and from items collected from where she had resided, and they were able to do the match that way.
With the indictment active, federal authorities immediately mobilized to locate the suspect, who was no longer in the immediate area. At 3:30 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, U.S. Marshals in the Southern District of West Virginia, working in tandem with the Carolina Fugitive Regional Task Force, tracked Pierce to Asheville, North Carolina, where he was taken into custody without incident. Pierce was held in Buncombe County while awaiting legal transfer, and on Thursday, May 28th, court documents show he submitted a formal waiver of extradition. Detectives from the Parkersburg Police Department immediately traveled to North Carolina to coordinate his return, officially bringing him back across state lines into West Virginia on Thursday, June 4th, 2026. Preston Pierce was then booked into the North Central Regional Jail, where he continues to be held without bond. On the morning of Thursday, June 11th, 2026, the legal process moved into a Wood County courtroom. Preston Pierce stood before a judge to face the accusations leveled against him and entered a plea of not guilty to all charges relating to the disappearance and death of Gretchen Fleming. Members of the Fleming family sat in the courtroom, watching the proceedings unfold. For Jennifer Fleming, facing the man accused of destroying their family was a profound emotional hurdle.
It's a very difficult situation to be in and come face to face. It's very hard.
And he pleads not guilty.
I'm not surprised. I expected as much.
The arraignment also introduced an immediate procedural twist. Pierce's defense attorney filed a motion to withdraw from the case, citing a prior relationship with the Fleming family that presented an undeniable conflict of interest. The motion was granted. He was later appointed a new attorney and co-counsel.
Pierce, the man charged in the murder of Gretchen Fleming in May, was appointed Michael Ekus of Gallipolis, Ohio as his attorney. Judge Jason Wharton also approved Joshua Daly to serve as co-counsel. Wharton set the next status hearing for 9 a.m. Friday, August 28th, noting the defense needs time to review discovery and determine whether experts will be needed. He also asked both sides to file discovery with the clerk under seal to keep a clean copy on record without it becoming public.
As leadership within the investigative units have noted, the resolution of the search marks the end of the initial chapter of this case. The question of where Gretchen is has been answered, but the legal battle is far from over. The focus now shifts entirely from the streets of Parkersburg to the inside of a courtroom where the state will present its forensic blueprint during the upcoming trial. Under the law, a plea of not guilty stands until a jury delivers a final verdict, and the ultimate outcome remains to be decided by the judicial system. But for a community that refused to stop looking, and a family that endured unimaginable grief, a sense of profound finality has finally arrived. Gretchen Fleming has been brought home, the silent gaps in the timeline have been filled, and the path toward absolute justice is finally underway.